Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for coming to this press conference today. Today I am pleased to share on the Ministry of Home Affairs our plans and initiatives for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. For the fiscal year 2022-2023, the Ministry of Home Affairs has received an estimated budget allocation of $18,707,000, which is $1 million above the fiscal year 2021-2022. The ministry budget includes the following departments: Ministry Headquarters, Registry General, Department of Planning, Land Valuation, Environment and Natural Resources, Energy, Land Title Registration. In fact, I am presenting the budget today in the House of Assembly, so you will be getting the budget presentation in fullness today if you listen to the presentation in the House. This year, the department that falls under the Ministry of Home Affairs will be focusing on the following major projects: the Department of Energy itself, which develops policy, legislation, and regulation in order to ensure a secure energy future for Bermuda. This department is responsible for the development of energy policies within government and throughout the island of Bermuda, educating the public on energy-related matters, including highlighting issues with fossil fuel dependence, energy efficiency and conservation, as well as renewable and alternative energy technologies, and provides consultation to the Department of Planning for energy-related development applications and matters. This term, the Department of Energy, working alongside the Regulatory Authority of Bermuda, will manage the work towards introducing the Energy Regulatory Sandbox. This work will allow the ministry to table legislation to introduce an energy regulatory sandbox that will encourage new renewable energy technology developers to test their products in Bermuda. The legislation will also encourage investment in Bermuda, providing jobs for Bermudians and giving them access to new technologies. The Ministry of Home Affairs, through the Department of Energy, will also work towards introducing a Green Energy Environmental Justice Fund to provide capital to deploy solar installations throughout the island. This fund will be available to all residents, allowing many across the island to invest in renewable energy solutions who traditionally could possibly not afford that investment on their own. The same governance structure that will be legislated for the Blue Investment Fund, structured by the Waite Institute, will also be applied to the Green Energy Fund. The structure being undertaken will also involve consultants, Energy Infrastructure Partnership, EIP. The consultants will continue to be paid out of the professional services budget of the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Department of Natural Resources has responsibility for the management and regulation of fisheries, marine conservation, marine heritage, terrestrial conservation, and nature reserve management, pollution control, agriculture, animal and plant management, and the Bermuda Aquarium, Museum, and Zoo. The elimination of single-use plastics is a critical matter given the interrelated issues of plastics, climate change, ocean pollution, and human health. Cabinet approved a draft policy recommendation in August of 2021. This was the subject of public consultation during September and October of 2021. Further consultation will be held with retailers, grocers, and importers to determine how to implement realistic, financially viable solutions. Following this, we will analyze all the feedback provided in preparation for drafting the necessary legislation. This project is not incurring any additional expense to the ministry. Additionally, Bermuda has benefited from funding from the United Kingdom government and the Waite Institute towards projects that include just some of the following: a marine development plan and the creation of this plan, which will include, one, a marine spatial plan identifying the 20% preservation of the exclusive economic zone, EEZ, governance surrounding the development of the sustainable industries within the EEZ, including blue tourism, fisheries, and renewable energy, and introducing the governance structure of the Blue Investment Fund. Much of the Marine Development Plan's development has been funded by the Waite Institute Foundation, which is our partnership under the title of BOP. The Bermuda government has contributed resources from the Ministry of Home Affairs, particularly the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Part of the plan also includes the Marine Enforcement Plan, which includes work with the recently announced Blue Shield, which the UK government will also be funding. Over the next fiscal year, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources will focus on achieving these very key and important objectives. Climate study. The issue of climate change, which I think everybody understands, is an existential threat to humanity. The science is evident in the observed effects of human activity on the planet due to primarily the burning of fossil fuels and increased greenhouse gas emissions. With the assistance of Government House, the Ministry of Home Affairs has secured funding from the UK government for a new expanded study to understand the impacts of sea level rise and changing storm activity, and in order to support our efforts to take the first steps on how we're going to mitigate and adapt in our fight around climate change. Over the next fiscal year, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources will focus on achieving these objectives. It is important to note that, again, the Bermuda government has contributed resources as a cross-ministerial climate change task force. Through that task force, with representatives from the Ministry of Home Affairs, which also includes the Department of Planning, Energy, Environment and Natural Resources, and headquarters, as well as the Ministry of Finance and Transport, including the Bermuda Weather Service and Public Works. And that task force is led from the Ministry of Home Affairs. Considering the challenge this country and the world continues to face, this ministry plans to be continuously scrutinized and adjusted. All of our plans were necessary to ensure that we are on target to meet the goals that I have outlined. At the same time, the ministry will continue to seek out opportunities that will enable the government and the people and the country of Bermuda to grow and our economy to prosper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. At this time, we welcome questions from the media.
Hi, good afternoon, Minister. Jasmine Patterson from Bermuda Broadcasting.
Good afternoon.
I firstly want to just take it to the Privy Council ruling this morning. Were you at all surprised by that outcome?
I was pleased, as the government is pleased with the outcome. I can't say that I knew what they were going to report, so I am certainly pleased and satisfied with the outcome. As I didn't know what they were going to judge, I can't say I'm surprised.
Given that there were previous same-sex marriages licensed before this appeal was put to the Privy Council, will the government void those previous marriages?
I cannot speak to that at this time. We are reviewing the judgment, and we will consider what steps will be taken to normalize the legislation if needed, and we will listen to our legal advisors and chambers as to what steps should be taken. But I am not going to commit to saying that we're going to do anything at this time, as everyone had satisfaction or seen the judgment today.
Okay. Okay, moving to the budget. What do you attribute the $1 million increase to mainly?
Those increases are attributable to, there were key adjustments to the budget. Some of them are a reconciling of adjustments that happened halfway through the year in salaries and other things, and also that is a budget that will ensure that we can meet our priorities. There are some approved priorities, whether it be within the economic recovery plan with the climate study, and around our overall work that we're doing around environment protection and in other departments, of which I didn't mention, whether it be land valuation, land title registry, in other departments and even consumer affairs under the ministry, that we have objectives that we are seeking to meet. And although some things may have been adjusted down, we did have funding to meet those priorities. So we have a budget that we feel, with the $1 million increase on $18 million, which will allow us to meet those goals.
Vertical farming, that's one of key initiative for the ministry. I understand that a consultant was used to source how vertical farming would look in Bermuda. Can you identify the consultant or consultancy company?
I cannot speak to the vertical farming initiative. It actually is a business development initiative under the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation, and that exists under another ministry. So I would recommend that you consult with them. The role that my ministry did play is we provided technical advice and support internally to the then Cabinet Office and the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation around vertical farming. That particular initiative does not exist under our ministry.
That's
but that is the role we
interesting.
played.
The minister deferred me to you for the project.
I can assure you that project does not exist within my ministry. It exists under the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation. They are the chief orchestrators and have the funding and all of the priorities when it comes to the vertical farming initiative.
Okay. Do you also have an update on the solar panel finger?
The only update I can give you is that it became operational in November. This is something that I have stated previously, that we have no role in the operation of the solar finger. We are certainly pleased that it's finally in operation, but that is under a private company that leases the land from the Ministry of Public Works. But we have no role in the operation, neither does the government, in the operation of the solar finger.
Also, fisheries, that was another priority initiative. Do you have an idea of what that could look like?
Well, we are, again, working with other departments around the advancement of our fisheries. One of the things that is happening under the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Partnership, and with the work that we're doing around the marine, Marine Development Plan and the Marine Development Act, is looking at ways that we can expand our fisheries activity. We have a very well-regulated fisheries system within our territorial waters, like between 20 to 12 miles. But there are opportunities that go out to the exclusive economic zone that we are looking to develop in the fisheries sector. And that's what we're focusing on under the work that we're doing with the Bermuda Ocean Prosperities Partnership, and how we'll shape our fisheries opportunities in a sustainable way. So we are very optimistic that that can be shaped. There are activities in other ministries that are also contributing to some of the future plans around that. But we are working with BOP, and also with our local fishing community to shape how that will look in the future, because there are opportunities in the deep areas of the exclusive economic zone, those areas that will not be subject to any exclusion, where there will be opportunities to develop a much more larger fishing industry. That's what we're working on.
Sure. You also mentioned an environmental justice fund. How much will be put aside for that?
Well, that is a fund that we are designing to attract private investment that will contribute to how we develop the opportunities for persons who cannot afford the tens of thousands of dollars to invest in a photovoltaic system or other systems to benefit from renewable energy. That fund will support that development island-wide, and that will create opportunities for persons through different schemes to benefit from renewable energy. That fund is in its formation, as I said in my statement, but we're looking forward to the opportunities it can create. That will be a fund that will benefit from private investment rather than public investment requirements. So that's how we're designing it. That's where we are going to sort of shape it. It's based on some of the examples that we found in the Caribbean where some islands are doing similar things with creating funds. Some of those funds have been being supported by people like the Inter-American Development Bank and others who have helped them to set up funds to do similar schemes. So we want to set up a scheme here that will benefit from private investment to do similar things and create opportunities for people to benefit from renewable energy.
Is this more of a long-term plan, or is it something that you could see, people benefiting from quite soon?
I believe that we will have, within this fiscal year, this fund will be properly established, but it is a long-term plan. This is something that will be in place that will provide long-term sustainable opportunities for people in the renewable energy sector. So our expectation is to have this fund set up within this fiscal year.
Okay. And how will you be seeking investors? Overseas, local?
From all different asset opportunities, investment opportunities, whether it be local as well as international, and even from our local business community, which we hope those who wish to support these sort of schemes, because ultimately greater use of renewable energy lowers energy costs, creates a more affordable cost of living situation for Bermuda and for businesses. So this sort of investment will be beneficial for those who wish to participate, not only from a return standpoint, but also from the fact that they will benefit from the lower costs that we expect will be a part of the process as renewable energy becomes much more widespread in the island.
Thank you, Minister.
Good afternoon, Minister. Fiona
Good afternoon.
McWhirter from the Royal Gazette. Thanks for having us this afternoon. I just want to take you to the statement that you released with regards to the Privy Council decision this morning.
Mm-hmm.
You said in your comments that the government is here to support all citizens. You said yourself that you, as the Minister responsible, support every person. The Privy Council noted that a sense of exclusion and stigma could be created among gay people and those who support their aspirations, because domestic partnership can be viewed by many as inferior to the institution of marriage. How then can you continue to say that you support every person if at the same time there could be a sense of exclusion and stigma among those who are not allowed to get married?
I think the key term is could.
You don't believe it does?
What I do believe is that the Domestic Partnership Act affords the same equal rights and privileges for persons who enter into a domestic partnership who is same-sex or like who are not same-sex, that for those who wish to choose the institution of marriage. It creates a same legal support obligation and for their institution, for their union. So they have equal rights, they have equal opportunity. It's the label that's different.
You talked, as you have just now, with regards to the rights that are afforded people under domestic partnerships. Those rights aren't necessarily reflected in other jurisdictions. So then, is the government here not denying same-sex couples those legal rights if they travel by refusing them the ability to get married here?
I don't think we are denying anybody any rights or opportunities. Certainly, I can only speak for what's here in Bermuda. And the Domestic Partnership Act is clear on the rights and opportunities it affords anybody who seeks to enter into that type of partnership. And if you see what those are and you compare them to persons who have marriage, they are equal virtually equal.
Do you believe that domestic partnership is inferior to the institution of marriage?
No. It's different, but not, it's different in label only. I think that's very clear what the law states.
Is the Privy Council decision this morning the end of the matter for the government?
It is the last court of resort in our system of government, and we respect the decision that the court has made.
Any consideration to be given to amendments in the DPA?
At this point, not until we have a chance to talk to our legal advisors, chambers, the lawyers, and other advisors on these matters, will the government make any decisions as to what it will do next. At this point, we respect the ruling of the court.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Deputy Premier. Sean Hunley from the Roban set.
Good afternoon.
The last monetary figure we had for your government's fighting against marriage equality was $411,000. What is the current figure, and how do you justify that when you're a government presiding over 3.1 billion worth of debt?
That figure that we presented to you is the figure to date.
There hasn't been any increase since then?
No.
Okay. Why do you think same-sex lifetime commitments and relationships are inferior to opposite-sex ones?
No one in this government has said that.
Well, the legislation would say otherwise, wouldn't it? Because
I disagree. The legislation creates
you
another...
talk about labels, but labels are very important. Why can't same-sex people have the same label as opposite-sex people in a lifetime commitment?
The legislation is a tool to deal with that. I think the history of this matter is very clear on how it's been in Bermuda. The Domestic Partnership Act was created to reconcile the different views around this issue, and certainly the government and clearly the Privy Council has accepted that this is an acceptable legislative framework to deal with those issues. And we respect the decision of the Privy Council.
The ANC government in post-apartheid South Africa was one of the first governments in the world to legalise same-sex marriage. Are you proud that you are Deputy Premier of the only country in the world that has actually reversed same-sex marriage?
I would say this to your answer. The actual issues that South Africa dealt with were very, perhaps, unique to its situation, and they have created a legal framework that addresses their issues. We have created a legal framework that addresses ours. It is legal under our Constitution. It certainly is legal in the eyes of the UK government, and certainly is legal in the eyes of the courts. Just as the South African legal framework is acceptable to them, ours is acceptable not only to our own legal framework, but those who look over our legal framework.
So you're proud.
I am satisfied that we have the best option for right now for this issue, and that we will perhaps in time, maybe in the future, other leaders of the country will look at it differently. But I am satisfied, Mr. Conley, that not only have we created an appropriate legal framework that reflects where Bermuda is now, but so has the Privy Council, who is an independent arbiter of legal issues, has also said that. I think that's an acceptable answer for where we are in Bermuda are right now.
The Privy Council is the Privy Council. You're the Deputy Premier of this country. Are you proud that you're Deputy Premier of the first country in the world to reverse marriage equality?
I have been very clear with my answer. I am proud that my government and our country has a legal framework that reconciles the difference of issues around this. As you would know, Mr. Conley, if you've done the research, even international law allows each country to deal with these issues in their own way. And that's what we have done.
Finally, what would you say to people who would just say that the PLP is a bigoted and homophobic party?
I think that those people can look at our record and see what that really is. And two, I think you should be reflecting on other countries in the region that have remained to have a system and laws that outlaw same-sex marriage completely. We are the only English-speaking country that has taken steps to provide rights to same-sex partnerships, same-sex arrangements at all within this region. Look at the countries in the Caribbean.
So because the rest
Comparable
of the Caribbean is
countries,
homophobic, that's
Mr.
okay,
Conley,
is it?
we have a much more just and fair system. And our laws reflect that. The Privy Council agrees with that. So does the UK government.
So you don't think you're homophobic then?
I'm not going to dignify that with an answer. I think I've given you my answer already on that
Well,
point.
it's not about dignifying it, it's a statement of fact, you know?
I think I've given you a satisfactory answer on that. I believe the record of the PLP is clear on how we deal with fairness of all parties, of justice for all parties in this country. That has been our history. We have a record that speaks for itself.
Finally, what's going to happen? Because in the interregnum there was the thing where same-sex marriages could still happen. So is there a time limit to that? When will that go forward? When will they be stopped?
We will, as I already answered with one of your colleagues and with the other journalists, we are looking at the judgment. The government will review the position where it is now and take advice, and then we will make the appropriate statements very soon on all of those points.
You haven't already planned for that then?
I didn't say that. I just said that we will take advice. We plan for many things, but based on the judgment which we received today, we will take advice, we will decide on the course of action, and we will announce that to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, do you have any closing remarks? No. All right, thank you all for attending and have a great day.